suit. Number 5 seed, the Northern Irishman, and he's taking on Walsh. Dan Dawson in the commentary box for this one, alongside me, Rod Harrington.
Yes, welcome, Dan. And I've just got a comment on your attire for this. I mean, I'm dressed up and you're sitting there in shorts.
Well,
what's going on? I know we're stuck in a cupboard, but...
Well, yeah, that's basically it. It's a 900-degree corridor we're going to be in for the next several hours.
Well, we could be in this cupboard for several hours for just this match.
Well, look, if this goes 11 legs, it is not going to be quick. But we know what these two are capable of, certainly. Brendan Dolan, their history maker, the first man to hit a double start, 9-darter. Did it at Grand Prix. An incredible run to his one and only appearance in a major final. If he turns it on, he is deceptively good.
Yes, he's one of the most underestimated dart players in the world. There's no question about that. And you kind of feel that Mark Walsh is going to have to up his game on his performance yesterday, although he did win, we know that. A bit like John Henderson in the previous match. You know, he upped his game, but just walked into it. And on fire, Terry Jenkins. 3 15s, 2 14s, and a 13 for his 6 legs. And poor old John had darts at double in 2 of those legs. So that's how John Henderson upped his performance. And this is what Mark Walsh has got to do here.
Yeah, well, Mark Walsh saw of Thomas Saylor in the first round. He beat him 6-2. But it wasn't a sparkling performance from him. An 81 average. You would think that's not going to be enough against Brendan Dolan.
Game on.
However, that was yesterday. Today is a whole new day.
Certainly is. Brendan Dolan, the man who knows what it takes to make the final of one of these European Tour events. Hasn't gone on to win one as yet, but he did make the final in Veldhoven at the Dutch Darts Masters a couple of years ago.
45.
Ended up losing out to Kim Huybrechts in that final. And he does have the advantage of throwing first in this one.
60.
Well, I always remember when Mark Walsh in the match play a few years ago walked up with Buster Blood Vessel, is it?
Yes, quite right.
Quite funny. Buster had a couple of pints of Guinness backstage and was trying to lip sync and was like a Japanese film. We were actually in tears. Was that funny?
Yeah, Buster Blood Vessel, the man, of course, who behind the walk-on tune for a special group. Is it Bad Manners? Was that it? I might go wrong. It matters not. It's in the past.
140.
140 from Brendan. Winner of this one will face Terry Jenkins, who's just seen off John Henderson rather comprehensively.
76.
You've got a waste of 2 darts there from Walsh. He needs to smarten those up. It's okay to have 1 wild one, but if you're going to start having 3 or 4 in the leg, you are not going to get any change from the top players, as Mark Walsh will know, because he was a top player not that many years ago.
Yeah, things can change pretty quickly in the world of darts. You can
100. Brendan, you require
a big noise, and then
117.
just 2 or 3 years later, find yourself an also-ran. Now then, Brendan Dolan.
97.
Misses the double top for 117 checkout, but he will return.
Well, he needed another treble to put any real pressure on. Well, she's got to hope that Brendan puts his first dart inside and has to chase up to the 5s. That's exactly what he's done.
Game sharp.
He's hit the double 5 on the switch.
Second leg mark.
A holder throw, 17 dart leg for Brendan Dolan.
Very consistent performer is Brendan Dolan. We've seen him make quarter-final on the European Tour in Munich That's one of 5 quarter-finals we've seen him make this calendar year. He's had a couple of semis and a final as well. Every tournament he turns up to, you're usually going to have to play very well to beat him.
85.
Yeah, that last dart, I mean, it was a good close-up angle of the darts there, and where you thought the third dart's going to find the treble or just, you know, around it. I mean, that's a big flyer from Mark Walsh. That's the difference in his game. He just lost that little edge on the consistency. And there we have it. I mean, the perfect first dart. You know, if you're going to beat people like Dolan, and again we see the wasted dart.
81.
Scruffy scoring, as we've nicknamed it, Dan, and scruffy scoring doesn't scare anyone, does it? Don't scare you, does it?
No, not at all.
Scares the living daylights out of me. But
100.
well, of course, Brendan will be in the World Match Play. That starts next Saturday. 7 o'clock live on Sky Sports. One of the tournaments that every player loves. Blackpool in the summer. You can't beat it. It's good as Vegas.
65.
It is a bit special, is the World Match Play. Brendan Dolan is taking on Vincent van der Voort in the opening round there. It's his 4th appearance at Blackpool. He's only managed to win 1 game in that time. It's one of the tournaments he's not really
100.
Well, not turned it on at all.
Really. Require
But to be quite honest, Vincent over the last month, 6 weeks has not been performing too well.
Well, Walsh at the minute, he's good for 1 treble a visit, but 2 was asking a lot. Left himself 65, but Brendan can apply some pressure here. Down for the 19s, is it? Oh, is he staying there?
60. Marker requires 65.
You're right, he should have gone for the 19s and left the 130. 2 darts at the treble 20 for the bull. Well, now needs double top.
25.
That would be a little bit easier.
Brendan, you require 129.
130. But we have seen a lot of big finishes this weekend. Seen some today already. Justin Pike with that 161. 160 from Terry Jenkins. Not going to see the 129 from Brandon Dolan here, though.
64.
And Walsh comes back with 3 clear darts at double top for what's been relatively trouble-free hold of throw, despite him taking 20 darts to do so.
Walsh, 3rd leg, Brendan to throw first. Game on.
Another packed crowd here. Saturday afternoon. The Maritime Hotel. Just outside the Düsseldorf airport, which is ideal. And Alan Norris, Brendan Dolan hits the first maximal of the match. Let's see, Alan Norris had a quick chat with him this morning and he was laughing his head off. 3 guys got out of a cab. Arguing with the cab driver because he'd driven him from the front door of the airport to the front door of the hotel, which is 100 yards, and charged him €7.
Well, better that than doing a Darren Webster and going to the wrong Düsseldorf airport, which has been done before.
It has a lot of times. Düsseldorf Wies, that is, isn't it? An ex-military base, about 100 kilometres from here.
Yeah, it costs you more than €7 in a taxi should you fail to get the right one.
99.
Saved himself 20 quid on the flight, 70 euros in a cab. Happened to many a person. And I'll hold my hand up at that in the early days.
Phil Taylor Wonderland echoing round the hall here. He's not here, but he will be at Blackpool, defending his 7-year unbeaten record.
And do you know what, Dan, I've kind of got to put him the favourite. I know people always say, you're always saying that, but you look at the performances coming into this. If it was set play, I wouldn't put him favourite, but leg-on-leg play, then I'm afraid I put him. And I think, obviously, Mike was going to be in contention, but Gary Anderson,
Brendan, you require 100.
I think he's the one that I would probably tip to follow up his World Championship and Premier League. Perhaps Gary Anderson if Phil Taylor doesn't win it. Or it may get, I don't know, a Michael Smith. People have got the game.
I just think there are so many potential major winners now, more than probably ever. I mean, you look at the way Peter Wright has played lately, and I think he's got a chance. I genuinely think, you know, we could see a surprise of somebody go and win their first one, like Peter or Michael Smith, but you know, when you've got a guy who's unbeaten in 7 years at the same venue, something magical happens in Blackpool. Brendan Dolan, not exactly magical that leg, but it was enough, and he leads 2-1.
Yes, although Peter Wright didn't go on and win Japan, when he beat Michael van Gerwen and took out the 1-4-1 in the deciding leg, sometimes, you know, it happened with Gary Anderson when he beat Phil Taylor in November, last November. It's kind of put him on the next level, and he hasn't looked back since. That could happen to Peter Wright. He could be that little bit of 5% better off, which is going to put a major, you know, in his trophy cabinet.
Yeah, and on the way to the UK Open final, I mean, obviously he lost out in that final to Michael van Gerwen, but he beat Phil Taylor along the way with an average of 104, so it wasn't a rubbish Taylor performance. It was Peter Wright having to raise his game to the very top to go and beat the very best. And he's done it a couple of times now, and maybe he could. But then again, let's look at Wes Newton, let's look at Terry Jenkins, let's look at any number of players who haven't gone on and won a major title despite seemingly having everything they need at their disposal to do so.
Yes, you're right. Dave Chisnell.
Again, another potential winner in my book. But that's the beauty of the match play, and that's the beauty of darts at the moment. So many guys have the capability of doing something very, very special. Undoubtedly the two to beat, though. Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen.
54.
3, Gary Anderson.
All right, Gary. I tell you what, that game between Gary and Phil last year was epic. And that was done with Gary Anderson only doing 45 minutes practice before he got on the board.
Well, Gary Anderson had a mistake in Japan that cost him the game.
He did.
Took out 87 and he wanted 83.
He did.
And he come and sat in the comms box with me and Stuart Pike afterwards and kept shaking his head. And I said, it happens, you know. I think every single dart player can relate to that. At one time in their career, whether you've been a top pro or just a club player, for some reason you've got the wrong number in your head and you take it out. It's just, it happens.
Well, Brendan Dolan has stolen a march on Mark Walsh in this leg. Walshy, he's had 5 visits to the board and he's still not down to a finish. So Brendan, all the time in the world. 112 is a nice little one. 420s. Oh, well, he's gone the 18 route.
Well, he's going to 4 18s to leave the double top. Mark Walsh on the verge of having his throw broken. Brendan Dolan comes back for double top for a 3-1 lead.
Brendan, you require 40.
And again, you know, Mark's thrown 18 darts and still wants over 100, and realistically, you're not going to win a lot. You're relying on your opponent to keep missing. Oh, Dolan hit the 5s in the very first leg.
Game shot on the 4th leg. Brendan Dolan.
And he does so again.
5th leg, Brendan to throw first. Game on.
Coming up, we've got 5 more games in the afternoon session. Ian White versus Alan Norris will round things off. That's one I'm really looking forward to, I have to say. I think that could be, if Alan Norris plays like he did in the first round, we could be in for something special there.
I think you're right, because Ian White's playing exceptional at the moment as well, and Norris did look good yesterday.
Steve Beaton, Mark Webster, a couple of classy performers as Brendan Dolan fills it up for his second maximum of the match. Mervyn King and Wes Newton, both former Premier League stars. Robert Thornton against Dimitri van den Berg, who was excellent yesterday, the young Belgian. But the one after this, we'll see Johnny Haynes, the punk, taking on Benito van der Pas. who will have half an eye, I would think, on a potential third-round meeting with Michael van Gerwen in the world #1, the man he beat in Riesa last time out in the European Tour. In fact, he's the only man to beat Michael van Gerwen in the European Tour in 2015. They are set for collision again here in Düsseldorf. MVG's got to get past Jamie Lewis tonight, but Benito has got to see off Johnny Haynes.
Yeah, Johnny Haynes, one of the old campaigners, one of those players that just plays the dartboard, he doesn't care who he plays. And on his day, can be certainly dangerous, and well, that's why he's here. No one that makes these events is a rubbish dart player or a lucky dart player. We talk about you have to need a little bit of luck, but you know, you don't absolutely roll in luck to get here. That doesn't happen.
84. Brendan, you require 66.
We're the only lucky ones because we get to commentate on it.
Quite. Well, that's the 6 for Brendan, and now he's looking at double top.
26.
Just above the wire now, Mark Walsh. This may have to go. Now, stay straight. And he has, and it's got him a chance. 120.
80. Brendan, you require 40.
Yeah, he's not got the real online attitude. He hasn't got the blinkers on, has he, Mark Walsh? You know, half of him was expecting that to miss. You could see that in his attitude afterwards. And that's just where it happens as Brendan Dolan makes it 4 legs to 1.
Mark to throw first. Game on.
And that's what happens when you're on a downer. You know, half of you knows you're not going to hit the double.
Yeah, well, he gave himself an opportunity there, Mark Walsh.
95.
He's missed, and once again we see him put a decent dart in to the treble bed, unable to follow it.
$100.
So the Mark Walsh of a few years ago would have clipped in a 140 from that first dart. Well, he's made the ton, which is good, but the second dart a few years ago would have definitely been in the treble. He'd have just overpitched it, just a fraction. And it caught the flights and the stem and gone into the treble.
You can see there,
80.
that is not particularly special from Brendan Dolan by any stretch of the imagination, but it is good enough right now for a 4-1 lead.
$47.
Oh, winning his 4 legs in 6 visits to the board.
Well, the game before we never had a leg over 15 darts. This game we've not had a leg under 15 darts.
60.
It's not a performance that'll send a message out to anyone, but the only message Brendan Dolan's bothered about is, I'll be in the last day of action at the European Darts Open. Assuming he can get the job done and win a couple more legs here against Mark Walsh, although that's a little bit better from Walsh. He gets him down to a finish.
Yes, you're right, Dan. You're in there, you can still improve. You're sitting in the hotel, you can't really improve for the next round.
85. Mark, you require 122.
But Walsh is not out of it yet. He needs to, you know, get a little bit of form, 2 or 3 legs on the run. Oh, that doesn't help. I'd go up. He's got to go up for the treble 20 now. He can't afford another bounce out, you know, for the 18. Well, fair play to him. You know, after that second dart had come off that first one, you expect him to go for the treble 20.
All of a sudden, he's going to be put under pressure here, because if Brendan can find another, he's on a double. And he is. And Mark Walsh will only get 2 darts at a double here. That's assuming he doesn't miss a big number. And he hasn't.
In charge of 6 leg.
Well, that'll make him feel a little bit better. It's his best leg of the match.
7th leg, Brendan to throw first. Game on.
Well, if Walsh can put a good leg together here, 15 and under, hit the throw back, then you never know.
40. 60.
Going back to Blackpool and all, Dan, I think what's going to be a factor, we talked about it yesterday, it looks like we could have a real strong week with sun.
Yeah.
And obviously we can't have air conditioning in the halls because it blows the darts off. And that old music hall place, it really does get blistering hot on that stage, well over 100 degrees. So if it's really like a heat wave, you're not sleeping overly well, it's that's going to play its part next week to see who wins.
Yeah, well, let's see if John Henderson goes 18, 19 legs with Phil Taylor in the first round in Blackpool in 9,000 degrees. I think that's on the Monday night.
I did put a thermometer up there one year, and I went up to 113 degrees on that stage.
That is warm. Toasty.
I got a nice tan.
It's 140 from Walshy, but Brendan Dolan's got 6 darts from here. We saw Justin Pipe take this out. I don't think Brendan will go for the ball. He might do. Didn't get the treble anyway, so he's going back up for the treble 20, which could have argued would have been the shot in the first place anyway.
Yeah, I'd have thrown that argument at him, but it doesn't matter. He's left the 24. You've already got the dart, you've got your line and length, you're switching down the bottom, then back up. A lot of times you're going to miss that second treble, and he didn't need to go out, so. But he's left the double, and it could be the best leg of the match so far.
He's hit double 5 next door a couple of times. He's getting a little bit closer to that 12. And he finds it with his last dart, a 15 dart leg for Brendan Dolan. He's 5-2 up and on the brink of the last 16. I think Mark Walsh may be getting that sinking feeling. And it's one that he's become rather familiar with over the last few months. And this will only exacerbate it. In the worst possible way. 3rd maximum for Brendan Dolan. Now, how many times have we seen that? Mark Walsh sticks the first dart in, it looks absolutely perfect for him, and he's unable to follow it with either of the next 2.
Yes, you're right, Dan. And the days are gone where, I mean, all right, the average has not been great. But the days are gone when 100 is a good score.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just going to go up there and pop 1 treble in every 3 darts, you realistically are not going to win a great deal. Well, you're not going to win a tournament. You may win the odd match, but certainly a tournament is not going to come your way.
Yeah, the stars can align for you. You can go on little runs of things. I mean, I talked earlier on with Rob about Justin Pipe in Venray. He didn't average above 93, and he managed to find himself in the final. But that is very much the exception rather than the rule. And Mark Walsh isn't even averaging around that 90 mark.
So that is absolutely the perfect dart for Mark Walsh. You can't put it in there any better. The fins of the flight and the 3rd dart, you can see that the fins of the flight and that 3rd dart actually hit the fins of the flight. It didn't go straight in the treble. And that's what the players do. They overpitch when you get the dart in the right position.
Oh, well, now then. Brendan Dolan for the match on the ball. Well, there you go, a 12 darter. And Brendan Dolan, a sprint finish from the Northern Irishman. A 15 dart in the penultimate leg, a 12 darter, and that 1-2-7 checkout on the ball. The history maker is through to the next round. Whilst he didn't put up too much of a fight, it has to be said that Brendan's produced a real moment of quality to win it. He is through and will face Terry Jenkins in the next round tomorrow. The action continues here in Düsseldorf with the Punk, Johnny Haynes, against Big Ben, Benito van der Pass. That's coming up in just a few moments after we grab a few words with your latest winner here in Düsseldorf, Brendan Dolan.
Steht also ebenfalls im Achtelfinale in der 3. Runde. Ihn sehen wir morgen wieder. Congratulations, Brendan. Brendan, I remember yesterday when you came here to Düsseldorf, it started so ugly with the coffee on your wife's jacket. You know, it's getting better now, you know?
Yeah, definitely getting better. Yeah, we got off to a bad start. We had a bit of an accident with a bit of coffee. Thankfully, not over me. But yeah, things is getting better. That was a very hard game for me. Mark's one of my best mates on the tour, and you know, I've known him such a long time, and he's such a gentleman. He's going through a bad patch at the minute. I'm used to playing him as the highest ranked player, and at the minute it's the other way around, and it's very hard, but I got the job done in the end, and I'm pleased to get over.
Thank you very much. Thanks. See you tomorrow again. Brendan Dolan. Der History Maker.